So today I'm going to demonstrate how to do a fecal float using a fecalyzer tube. This is commonly used in small animal care industry to test small animal samples. It can be used for large animal samples, however, don't see it being used as often for that. So I've pulled together my supplies. Fecal tests can be quite simple. You'll need a slide and cover slip so that you can look at the sample under the microscope to try and identify the parasite eggs. And you'll need some fecal solution. I have chosen a pre-made, ready-to-use solution. However, many solutions simply use a type of sugar mixture. You can find recipes online to make your own fecal solution. I've pulled some aside so it's a little bit easier to work with. I have my fecalyzer test. You can find these on Amazon, quite inexpensive to get large sets. Of course, we want to protect ourselves, so I have gloves as well. And I have our fecal sample to test today. The science behind a fecal flotation starts with what's inside the feces. Inside the feces are potential things we can learn about the animal. There can be different types of debris, diseases, and especially parasites. We could have larva parasites or various eggs that are present inside the feces. So we can do a test to determine what eggs might be present. And we take a small sample of the feces and we place it in a vial. And we fill it with fecal solution. Now, fecal solution is meant to be more dense than the eggs. Therefore, they rise to the top of the solution. And you place a cover or a slide on the top of the solution. And the eggs will stick to that slide so that you can take the slide, insert it into a microscope, and learn what eggs might be present in that sample. And that sample helps determine whether or not medications and treatments need to be given. The first step in starting your fecal flotation is getting your sample ready. So we're going to go ahead and get our sample ready for our fecal flotation test. I have my fecalyzer and I have my fecal sample from a rabbit. So what I'm going to do is first step is protection, wearing gloves. Thankfully, this surface is easy to clean. You wouldn't want to do this on a porous surface. Try and keep things sanitary as possible. All right, so my gloves are on. In a fecalyzer tube, there's two parts. There's the main tube and there's this green section which kind of pops in and out. You want the fecal sample to go on the outside. You do not want it on the inside of this strainer. And with these little fecalyzer kits, it actually is set up so that you can grab a sample of the perfect size without getting your hands too dirty. So I'm going to go ahead and open our bag here of the sample. Make sure I have access to it. Try and get a section without debris, which is a little bit easier with a rabbit sample. And I just press down on it and it essentially picks up our little fecal pellet here, or the proper sample size for the fecal test. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to place this back in. Actually, before I forget, step first is there's a fill line right here on the fecalyzer. So we're going to fill fecal float solution to that line. And you don't want to go above it because then when you do add your sample back in, it might splash up on you. You don't want that to happen. So fill to that line, gently press it back down, and then we're just going to swirl. We don't want to shake, we're just swirling the solution so that we can separate it and get the eggs out. You want to do this for about 2 to 3 minutes, or until the solution is fully mixed. Don't you hate that? As soon as you have gloves on or you're mixing with something gross, your nose itches. All right, so once you have fully swirled, for the sake of time, I'm just demonstrating. Oops, careful when you open. If it gets in the cap, it might spill a little bit. So once we have swirled our solution, we are going to fill to the top so that it creates a meniscus on the top. So get you a nice good look at this. So it has formed a meniscus there. Once you have the meniscus, you're going to place your slide, a clean slide. Make sure it's dried off and clean if you're using glass, or a fresh slide sample. And you're just going to let it rest there. You will leave it to rest for 10 minutes. That allows all the eggs to rise to the top so that we can get a good look at them. All right, so once your 10 minutes has expired, you're ready to prepare your slide. So what you're gonna do is you want to carefully take your sample, flip it over, leaving a little bit of the solution with whatever debris or eggs. This is not the greatest example. You probably want to use a looser type of fecal material for this type of test. Rabbit fecal material, fecal pellets, tend to be a little bit hard. And then we're going to place the cover slip. If you've never placed a cover slip before, you don't want to just plop it down straight. You want to use a slight angle as you drop it down to get rid of any bubbles. Can sometimes be difficult with gloves. So there you have your fecal sample, and we can place this under the microscope to try and identify what parasites might be present in this fecal sample. And the great thing with the fecalyzer is once we're done here, we just snap that back on and we can toss it out. Usually it's a little bit messier, but for the sake of demonstrating, this is how you use a fecalyzer, and you have a lovely sample that you can now look for parasites.